Hello and welcome to the Dark Mount video review for FansProject Function X-03 Smart Robin. Smart Robin is a third-party homage to the G1 Headmaster's character Brainstorm, and he is a pretty awesome figure, I've gotta say. In his vehicle mode, he is a jet spaceship thing. Not entirely positive, it does look pretty fast. He has excellent detailing all over him, and some pretty nice paint apps on the front and top of the vehicle mode. So there is a little bit of a visible folded up robot in there, and there's a little bit of hollow empty space going on in this top area right here. But truth be told, this is a pretty amazing alt mode, and there's really virtually nothing that can be considered kibble on it, which is incredibly impressive. Obviously there's no articulation to speak of since it's just a space fighter, but you do have the ability to take these front weapons out if you like. Although you do lose the fins in that case, but it is a different display option if you like that more. Due to transformation, you can also tilt these wings back, and if you really wanted to, you could even fold them in. So depending on how you want to display this particular figure, you do have a couple different options. Now, for some vehicle mode size comparisons, here he is with the classic Seeker mold. And here he is with Japanese Generations Ratbat. He is the slightest bit wiggly when you have him sitting on a flat surface, but that is just the nature of not really having the landing gear out. So obviously if you take that out, he will sit perfectly fine, but I'm not going to dig those out right now. So this guy has a pretty good wingspan for a smallish, medium to large size deluxe small Voyager, I guess. I'm not sure exactly what size class they're aiming for here. For transformation, you want to start popping out these weapons again. You don't have to take them out, but I find that it is probably safer and you run less of a risk of snapping something off, and you can always put them back in later if you choose. You can then free up these wings to get them out of your way. And come in here, grab this whole assembly from here on down and pull. And you're going to remove the hand from a small hole in the top of the aircraft. And do that on both sides. Once you've done that, you can bend them forward to get them out of your way, and you can collapse this in to reveal the hands if you'd like. Once you've got that done, you want to come into this section, and there is a pin connecting this gray area to the green plastic behind it, right up in the top corner of both of these panels. And there's also a semi-trapezoid shaped peg on both sides here. So what you're going to want to do is take this entire piece, holding it like this, and kind of gently rotate it up and around like this, and that will unlock both of these parts at the same time. Once you've done that, you can unfold the leg, at the same time rotating this ball joint around and finishing the fold. Then you can come in here, slide that little bit forward, and that closes up the hole that the fist went in. Come down to this wing, fold it in 90 degrees, bend out the foot bit, and then fold this entire wing up, and then continue to fold it into the leg. And the entire thing will fold into the back of the leg. And there you have one of his legs formed. You want to do the same thing on the other side. Unlock, unfold, rotate, straighten, fold 90 degrees, move the foot, fold that way, rotate up into the leg, cover hole with panel. And there you have both of Smart Robin's legs. Now for the top, you are going to want to fold this part, and this is on a double hinge, and then come in here and open up this chest bit. And in here you will find your Headmaster, and we'll put him off to the side for now. Now this chest is a very interesting bit of transformation. It's similar to what happened with Weird Wolf, Quadruple U, if you have that figure, but it's a little bit different. What you're doing is splitting this entire section here, and you're going to move the arms so they're out of your way. You can either point them straight forward or point them back. You just want to make sure they're not blocking the hinge here. And then you want to spread this entire section and actually collapse it in on itself like this. And once it's pushed all the way down in there, you can fold these two side bits back up and it will form a solid torso. Now that has to be one of the most interesting little bits of transformation I've ever seen. And I feel like it's a mix between the collapsing torso of the wheels in the first Function X release for Code, and what they did with Quadruple U in the second Function X release with his kind of expanding, collapsing torso. And I feel like they took both of those concepts and they improved upon them and they combined them into one really interesting transformation scheme. And you can see how solidly that all fits together. And it's just really amazing to me that they can take something that forms a very coherent jet bit and also have it form such a solid torso. And I mean, especially once you rotate this up and collapse that down on top of it, that is an amazingly solid torso. Once you've got the chest plugged in, there is a peg on the underside of this plastic and a hole right on the back. And once it is centered, you can just lightly press up at the top here and it will lock in place and it won't wiggle back and forth like it was a second ago. Like this. You can actually rotate this entire thing and then rotate the legs, since I had the torso on backwards. And then collapse this bit back like that. If you try to fold it down too much, however, due to the way this is formed, it will pop out this back part right here. So it does need to sit up on the double hinge. Now there are also rotate out shoulder pauldrons, but if you rotate them past a certain point, they look pretty ugly. So this is their starting position. I usually just rotate them up to about there, just to give it some variance in color. And rotate the bottom of the arm up there, and that'll form the actual elbow bend. Now this elbow is on an interesting joint, so once we get into articulation we'll see that. And there you have the body for Smart Robin or Brainstorm transformed. Now, as I said before, you do have the option to store these two weapons back where they came from, which will now end up on his back and give him little wings, or you can use them as weapons. Now, onto the Headmaster figure. He is pretty simple. I will say he's probably my least favorite of the three so far. I'm not a huge fan of the transformation. I mean, as simple as it may be, it's just not quite as elegant as the other ones were. His paint is really interesting, and he had really good detail, so he's not a bad figure at all. He's just not my favorite of the three. I mean, that's not necessarily saying a bad thing about him, since I like the other two a whole lot. So he has same articulation the other two have had. You have full rotation in both shoulders. You have no head articulation. You have a ab crunch for transformation. Movement at both hips. And knee movement. And no foot articulation. I found that this figure does not stand super well unless you have him kind of leaning forward or you have his arms out pretty far, which is a little disappointing since they did get the other two to stand pretty well. To transform this guy, I was a little confused the first couple times, because if you see this bit right here, it looks like it's on a slider like the other ones. But if you look closer, there's actually a piece of plastic going across there holding it in place. So it is just kind of elevated out, and you cannot slide this in anymore. I've tried a lot, and you can actually see right in here, this part is solid. So even if there was some kind of sliding mechanism, that solid piece would block it from going in any further than this anyway. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like that. I think it is. It looks... I mean, it doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like the piece is supposed to be like that, but I'm not sure if that was an error of some sort, because when you put the arms up and fold the legs back, normal Headmaster transformation there, this piece just kind of rests there, which does not look bad. However, from the side you can still see this hole, and I feel like if this part slid back a little bit more, it would look the same from the front, but it wouldn't have that hole there. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Also, if you move the hands, you'll see there are tabs on either side, and there are little slots for those tabs. However, they don't match up at all. I mean, it's literally impossible because of the way this is kept out for them to plug in. It literally stops them before it ever even reaches them. So I'm not sure if I have some kind of broken Headmaster here or what, because it is very clear to me that this is molded to be stuck out at this position. So I don't know if that was a last minute design change or what, but to be honest, it doesn't hurt the effectiveness of the figure, and it doesn't make it look bad, and it's not untransformable. So I'm not too concerned with it, but it is something to keep in mind. If yours is different than that, or if it's the same, I'm not entirely sure. So just watch out for that if you end up getting this figure. Once you have the head, you can grab the body and plug it right in. And just like all the other Function X figures, it is a very solid connection. For some robot mode size comparisons, here he is next to his Function X brothers, Quadruple U, and Code. Here he is next to the new IDW Orion packs. So he's not a huge figure. He's not a particularly small figure either, but he's definitely not gigantic. He'll fit in pretty well with the Classics collection, I think. That's where he's going to be going for me. For articulation, in the head you have kind of... It feels very tight, and I'm worried I'm going to snap the Headmaster's head off, so I'm not going to mess with that very much, but there is a little bit of articulation there. Unfortunately, unlike the other figures, you don't have any of that tilt action that they had, where the platform was actually mounted in a little tilting mechanism. It is just rotation that you have here. You have full rotation in the shoulders. You have an upper arm swivel, and a very strange kind of double hook joint type thing going on for the elbow. You have no hand articulation other than the transformation joint. You have waist rotation that is slightly hindered by the back of here, but that's very easy to get out of your way. You have hip rotation and a decent amount of split. You have an upper thigh swivel, a very tight knee bend, no ankle tilt, but you have foot articulation and individual toe articulation. Well, this part is individual, not each toe. He doesn't have toes because he's a robot. No robo toes on here. I cannot say enough good things about this figure, about the Function X line in general, about my experiences with FansProject as a manufacturer. I love this guy. I like him more than the other two, just because I think he builds on both of them, and he does just a lot of really interesting things. All three of the Function X lines are some of the best transforming figures I have in my collection. I also have the FansProject Stunticons, and I am also really impressed by them. I'm looking forward very much to getting M3, or whatever they're trying to call him now, Diesel. And I mean, I could spend 20 minutes listing all the amazing things about this figure. It's decently posable, really, as all the Function X toys have lacked it. It could use the ankle tilt. It's really lame that they keep leaving that out, but due to the way that the feet transform, I'm not that upset about that. I mean, working an ankle tilt in here would have actually probably not been that difficult, but it would have increased the prices and the manufacturing, and frankly, with everything else that's going on in this figure, ankle tilt's really not going to bug me. On top of that, the fact that the toes are articulated does kind of give you some ankle tilt. I mean, obviously the back of the feet is still not articulating, but if you spread his legs out and you flatten his toes, from the front, that looks like flat feet. So this is really much farther than they've ever come. This is basically giving us kind of half-foot ankle tilt. So if that's the trade-off for having a transformation like this, and having this kind of total lack of kibble, I'm fine with that. I'm totally cool with that. The one thing I'm not really a fan of on this figure is the elbows. They just kind of look weird. It gives you a lot of posable room. I mean, you have a lot of articulation there, and you can... However, I think it just kind of looks weird in certain situations when it's kind of hinged down. So I usually keep it up in kind of this pose anyway, which kind of makes that whole double joint useless since you're only using the top one. But that's just me. All in all, this guy's fantastic. If you're collecting Function X, even if you're not collecting Function S, this is a great first figure to try out if you haven't seen the line in person yet. I think they're awesome. They really couldn't be better, in my opinion. There's a couple small issues certain people have with them, like the lack of ankle tilt, but frankly, I don't think it really hurts any of them. I think they're all very strong, and if you're a fan of Brainstorm, this is pretty much the only thing out there on the market, other than, I think it's Toy World has another much bigger, blockier version, but I'm not so much into their Headmasters. So I recommend this guy. I think he's fantastic. I think you will too. And if you do end up getting him, enjoy. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.